In this video I'm showing you the restoration of this tired looking sewing table from the mid-19th century in mahogany and satinwood veneer on an oak carcass. It has a little drawer and a compartment for little sewing or embroidery works. But it's when you open up the top that you can really see the workmanship of the craftsman. Within this golden satinwood interior, there's a delicately inlaid pincushion.
Hi, my name is Arie, and I've been restoring antiques for over 25 years. A client of mine brought in this little sewing table for restoration. She inherited it from her grandmother, and they both bonded over sewing, needlepoint embroidery, and fabrics. She attributes working in fashion to the first lesson she got from her grandmother, both bent over this little work table. Restoring her grandmother's sewing table seems like a fitting tribute. Let's start restoring.
The condition is not great. The French polish has bleached over time and is stained. Most importantly, the top is warped. I start the restoration by taking off the top of this little work table. Straightening the top is a challenging and potentially dangerous restoration, but will be very rewarding when done correctly. I'm also taking out the lock plate and the broken mirror. Then I'm going to take off the satin wood veneer by regenerating the original hide glue with moisture and steam. I'm using a damp cloth and an iron. As you can see, because the old glue is made soft again, I can run a palette knife under it and lift the veneer. It's very easy to damage the veneer this way, so you have to be careful and patient and let the moisture do its work. And voila, it came off in one piece. So far so good. This is a tough spot. More steam is needed and let's try again. Yes! Now I'm going to make slots in the wood to relieve the tension of the warped wood. Afterwards, I will fill these slots with slightly narrower strips of wood. That will hopefully straighten the top. Once I'm happy with the result, I'll glue back the satinwood veneer to cover my restoration. To make the slots, I use my miniature milling machine. Always a good day when I can use this cutie. I'm making the 8mm slots all through the oak base wood, so only the mahogany veneer on the top is holding things together. Those 8mm slots will be filled 7mm strips of wood. Once glued and clamped, the warping will have turned from upwards to downwards and hopefully come out exactly in the middle. I'm cleaning the slots from sawdust to make room for the strips of wood. I'm planing the strips of wood slightly narrower than the slots are wide. Look, it's my favorite little hairy helper Bella, looking for cuddles. Time to glue in the strips of wood. Now that all the strips are glued into place, it's time to wipe off the excess glue with a damp cloth and put on the clamps. I let the glue dry over the weekend and I checked the warping of the top again. Happy with the result. Then I plane off the excess wood of the inserted strips. Let's try the top on the base of the little sewing table. Almost there, but I think I can do better. I have to remove more from the satin wood veneer to make room so I can plane the oak wood to get rid of the last of the warping. So here we go again. Now that I've removed the veneer, I can plane the wood. Let's try to fit the top on the table again. Perfect. I got rid of the last of the warping. Some final sanding and adjustments before I place back the veneers. Now it's time to glue back the satinwood veneers and hide my restoration. Before clamping, the glued back veneer is fixed in its position with masking tape. I use vinyl to protect the veneer while clamping. And then I place my clamps. A lot of them. After the glue has dried, I remove the clamps and the result is great. Time to glue the other parts of the veneer. I'm using masking tape again to hold the pieces of veneer in position. And then I position my clamps again. After the glue has dried and the clamps have been removed, I lightly sand the veneer. I brush on a coat of shellac to make the sanded veneers fit in with the rest. Then it's time to concentrate on the mahogany veneer on the exterior of the little sewing table. I brush on a coat of paint stripper, and after it has done its work, I remove with steel wool. While I work on removing the old French polish, I'd like to tell you something about the history of sewing tables. Sewing has been an important part of humanity since the Paleolithic era, starting from 2.5 million years ago to 10,000 years BC. They were hunter-gatherers and used stone and bone tools. Even after all those millennia, the tools they used are easily recognizable to us now. In Europe in the Middle Ages, the tools they used are even more recognizable. And during those times, sewing, and especially decorative embroidery, was seen as a valued skill for young women at the time. And the results they produced are stunning. Women would keep their needlework in baskets, boxes, or bags. Around 1770, specialist tables were invented in Great Britain called sewing tables or work tables. And soon this type of furniture was widespread over Europe and the United States. They would come in a variety of materials and styles. The culture of the times would place women firmly as mothers and guardians of the household under the direction of the husband. Sewing tables would be one of the very few pieces of furniture in the household especially made for, used by, and owned by the lady of the house. Because of the social norms at the time, women would be strongly discouraged to have independent contact with other males outside of the household. Groups of women would gather around sewing tables to practice their sewing skills as an accepted social activity for what was then called decent women. It would be an occasion for women to talk amongst themselves without male supervision. Sewing tables were inherited from mother to daughter, making them a tangible connection between present-day women and the lives their foremothers led. A part of our common human history often overlooked in past times and something my client is very aware of. Gluing back the bone lock plate that was missing, but that turned up while taking out the inventory of the little work table. French polishing a little work table is not like French polishing a dining table. There's simply not enough room for the polishing pad to reach all the nooks and crannies. So, I'm starting to French polish the sewing table by brushing on a first coat of shellac. And afterwards, the polishing pad will be used to complete the French polish finish. It's time to pay the cuddle tax. Always happy to be distracted by little Bella. I'm ready for the real work now. Let's put in some rounds of French polish. I'm putting a small amount of shellac and alcohol on my polishing pad, and here I go. The mahogany veneer takes the French polish beautifully. Look at that wood grain come to life. And now the top of the work table. The veneer is stunning. Best quality of Cuban mahogany with its dramatic markings and rich color. A piece of mahogany wood was sewn into veneers and 4 repetitive pieces were mirrored to make this tabletop. It's precisely there where the trunk of the tree grew into 2 big branches that these beloved markings in mahogany developed naturally. Time to French polish the top with my polishing pad. I've got my headphones on with some good music for a steady rhythm, and here I go. Oops, a Bella hair. Let's check my work. Happy with the results so far. And then some final rounds of French polish. And then to finish it off, some more rounds of French polish. Time to put the little sewing table back together again. Remember what the little work table looked like before restoration? This is what it looks like after.